There's two things I'm afraid of in this world, Stacey Jean: Jesus Christ and your mother, and not in that order.
Welcome to the podcast, Stacey. It's great to see you. It's been, geez, we saw each other, what, 3 or 4 months ago at our company event, which was a lot. We were honored to have you there. So, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, the Ignite event was a lot of fun. It was great to see the engagement of your people, but it's like for the best part for me was seeing that growth, right? When you and Drew started showing up in my office, and the first time I met Jen, like, to see all those people in that room and some from across the pond and across the country, I was like, this is awesome.
Can you tell us a little bit about just the history of Northeast Fire Protection?
Yeah. So in 1978, my dad, like a true Fantauzzi, had a little problem with authority. He had been in the business for about 7 years, worked for two other entities, and wasn't well positioned by God to take orders from too many people. Um, Facts, like, one of my favorite things, like, people ask me like what my dad is like, and I was like, I remember him saying to me one time, there's two things I'm afraid of in this world, Stacey Jean: Jesus Christ and your mother, and not in that order. And they started the business in the house that my dad still lives in. My mom passed away a little over 7 years ago, 8 years ago, pardon me. And about 30 days in, my mom was like, you need to do this somewhere else because this is not working out here, right? Tried to fabricate pipe in our garage. So 2.3 miles up the road, there was an old Curtis Lumber, the original Curtis Lumber retail store for folks in this area. That was like our Lowe's or Home Depot. They're very big and successful now, but we're at their original location and we've been there since 1978. My dad started renting a third of the original retail building. And then 1986, they bought 7 out of the 11 acres of the original lumberyard.
Nice. And that actually, just for the listeners who don't know, because you and I can say upstate and downstate all day long. Do you want to just give a little context of where you're located in the country?
All right. So New York State's like a T-bone steak, right? And this is New York City and this is Montreal. We're about here at the base of the Adirondacks, one of the most beautiful parts of New York State, if I do say so myself. So yeah, we are upstate.
So, you mentioned water-based fire protection. So let's maybe dig a little bit into like your background. When were you? It's a family business. When were you dragged in, either kicking or streaming or voluntarily?
So I wasn't a very good girly girl as a kid. And I would do things like tear apart bicycles, or like my dad would find me in the garage with something in an exploded view because I wanted to know how it worked. I liked figuring things out. So I just started going to work with my dad at age 4. I used to pull orders. So, they would have me in the shop and I would go pull fittings. So I think probably by 8, I knew the difference between cast and ductile and malleable. So, I had my own words for certain things too.
Do you feel like it was always his plan?
No, he wanted me to follow my own dreams. My grandfather was a doctor. My dad's dad was a doctor, and he wanted my dad to be a doctor. So my dad was in school for pre-med, and he just he got a job working in fire protection while he was in college, doing hydraulic calculations by hand for this company. He would work Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and he fell in love with it. He got what we call the sprinkler bug. I thought I was going to go to college and study geography and international law. I was very fascinated by, and I still am, by politics. So I think the assumption was like I would live in Manhattan someday and, I don't know, do something, I don't know, with the law.
But you were back.
I came back July of 2014, and I had worked for my parents before. I'd worked for two other fire sprinkler companies. I worked for a supply house, and I worked in politics for a while, on the operations side. Um, my dad wanted me to do what made me happy. And I think the greatest gift my dad gave me was that my trajectory and the life that I was planning never was determined by him. It wasn't determined by my gender, my anything. It was determined by my ability.
When you came in and maybe there was things you wanted to modernize or saw different places, like could you talk about was there friction when you tried to introduce these changes?
Yeah. So there's a couple ways to sort of attack this. One, the rapidity with which we're experiencing change in today's age is like just astronomical in the exponential sense, right? So I think the difference between how my dad ran a business and then maybe the generation before him was not nearly as steep as a change as what we're seeing. So when I came back and they were all working on their own independent computers and then downloading tapes and stuff like that. And I brought in a friend of mine who had an IT business to, you know, get a server with cloud storage and the investment I think was like $30,000. And my dad was like, you know, it's a lot of money for computers. Um, and the funny thing is, the other day he said to me, Stace, just chat GPT that and it'll write you the process.
No, I want to maybe hit something because I don't know if you ever straight out said it was a passion of yours, but in times you and Jen talked or we've talked, you have very passionately talked about getting, maybe convincing is not the right word, but showing recent high school graduates that the trade is a viable career path, and you were pretty early to that. This is before like the Mike Rose of the world were really beating that drum. Um, if you could talk a little bit about that, but also, do you feel like maybe I'm, gonna bang the inspect point drum a little bit, but does having technology in the business help convince some of those folks that, hey, like like this is a modern, like you were using modern software here, like you're gonna like learn a lot. It's not all pen and paper. Like selfishly, I'm just curious, did that help at all getting some younger folks to join with you?
I have seen a lot of folks who still believe that success comes from a college degree. And I firmly believe that success comes from being passionate about what you're doing. And I love the fire sprinkler industry, but I absolutely love giving people purpose. So when we have people come on board, we have what's called the path to progress. We show them in a spreadsheet. Like if you finish book one, you get X amount of money. If you participate in getting these other safety trainings done, Carrie and I joke that we're going to do like merit badges on a sash, like you got for Boy Scouts or like, Girl Scouts or something. Like, you got your Hilti drill patch and you got your Sammy patch, for making sure you've, done the Sammy Express tool correct. So those are the things that I enjoy. I enjoy getting young folks, especially, I just feel like a lot of our young folks who can't sit still and aren't the traditional student who absorbs and parrots, who maybe have a little ADD or a little curiosity or some ants in their pants. I feel like those are the most interesting folks, right, to bring on.
I love how much you personally and Northeast is invests in their employees, in the training of their employees. And yeah, that was a big learning for me, or made me think, we could do a better job here at Inspect Point doing that. So that was, I think both of us are always learning from as many people as we can. And that's something I've definitely learned from you throughout the years. So definitely kudos on that. And then, because I want to be conscious of your time. It is during the workday, of course, but I will say one of the things I love about the industry, and you definitely are a shining example of this, is just how passionate folks are in this industry. And I think um, it helps us at Spec Point day to day to see that passion, and it cuts both ways, of course, because uh, like people want Inspect Point to work and show value, and they're very passionate about that, and it's very important for us to do that. And the one team I wanted to ask you about, because you interact a lot with them is our CS team, our customer success team.
So one of the first things that you guys did was listen to us. Like I'm not a sugarcoater, neither is my dad, and most folks in our office are pretty direct people. So like for you to drive up to our office and for my dad to be like, let me tell you why your fire pump curve is crap, right? And you sat there with him. What I love is, we've had our customer service reps who call and say, hey, listen, can we find a way to show like tentative on the calendar? Can we show vacations? And all these things have been, oh, it's in the next rollout. And, or no, we'll put that on the list of things to do. One of our older inspectors who's been with us like 3 decades, he calls his iPad the electronic clipboard. Because we used to, have these paper copies, we take notes and we, had clipboards for everything, right? Like I can't imagine a service truck that didn't have 2 or 3 clipboards hanging on the rack behind your head, that separated your van or, your truck from, we had different things you could hang on. And now we had these backpacks with our electronic clipboards. 25 years ago, half of our inspections went into a file and then went into the garbage can next year after they got faxed to the insurance company, be like, here, we did it, right? But where our HJs are getting more educated and we're finding out that they understand the importance of fire protection and a well-maintained fire protection system.
I definitely, Stacey, you found what, just to throw back to what you said a couple of minutes ago, you definitely found a long list of things you're good at. And one of them is uh, definitely building an excellent company and team culture. So again, kudos to that, but also running a business. Like as we wrap, if you could give your top piece of advice to anyone running a fire life safety contracting business, or maybe even someone who might want to start one or rejoin one similar to you did, what would be your best advice for them?
Has nothing to do with sprinklers. Say sorry when you're sorry. Say you're wrong when you're wrong. And when your employees have a better idea than you, give them credit for it. People don't want to be on a team where they don't like the coach. Listen actively, use your eyes and ears in proportion to your mouth. And that's advice for me too, not just anybody else. That there's an amazing, people are like, kids these days don't want to work, right? Uh, Kids these days want a purpose. And if you show them all the opportunity that's out there, you will build a team and they'll talk about it.
I really appreciate the time, appreciate you sharing, and generally appreciate you being a great partner and customer.
Yeah, you and Jen and your crew and everybody else, like you've really helped us step up our game and supported us. So this is one of these things I was so excited to do because watching you guys grow explosively and to know that we were there at the beginning and have seen this trajectory. It's amazing for us too. So thank you.